Hello, everybody, and welcome to our special Overtime 2022 playoff special. I'm Fernandez, and I will be playing under the name of Team Money because my picks are straight cash. It was an amazing NFL season. We just saw so much excitement week in and week out, and I think a lot of that's translated over to the playoffs where there's really no clear-cut favorite. You know, so many of these games are toss-ups, and I think we'll see that reflected in these picks. Joining me today will be Ryan Candia, the Candyman.
Theo, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the show. The year was a little different. I didn't like 18 weeks, 17 games. Had to get used to that. If you played fantasy, that went longer too, but been a good season so far. Can't wait for the playoffs.
We also have Brendan Rink playing as Brebs.
It was a very, very exciting season, I must say. Having 18 weeks and extra weeks of football, awesome. It's an awesome season. Very excited for these playoffs.
And a first-time player, Robert Baird, playing here as Big Bob.
This season was really unique and had a bunch of different games, and the Cowboys did really good, and we're looking for a good playoff season.
Joined by the Robo, Mike Stolt, who unfortunately won't be able to join us today, but we'll be making the picks for him. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to move along chronologically here. So we're going to start out at the Saturday 4 o'clock game, which will be between two of the best stories of the year, Joe Burrow's Bengals and the Derek Carr-led Raiders. So, Candyman, take us away. What do you think here?
Well, both these teams are riding into the playoffs on great momentum. They both won 4 games in a row. I mean, that Raiders-Chargers game, the win in overtime was epic, one for the ages. The Bengals are pumping on all cylinders with new coach Zach Taylor. They got Joey Burrow, Jamar Chase. Joe Mixon has been great. They tried to up the defense a little bit in the offseason. The Raiders, what a storied season, with the John Gruden issues. I'm wondering if he'll watch the game at all. And you got longtime NFL lifer Rich Bisaccia taking over the helm. I mean, John Madden, he just died. His ghost will definitely be watching this game. These teams met 31 years ago. The Raiders are the last team to beat the Bengals in the playoffs. The Bengals not won a playoff game since. It's going to be a very interesting story to tell at the end here. Derek Carr is pumping on all cylinders. He's got Renfro. He's got Waller back. It's a tough pick for me. My son loves the Raiders and Derek Carr. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I am going to go with the Vegas Raiders to win this game. I think it's going to be a real close one, and it's going to be really fun to watch.
All right, Brebs, do you agree with the Candyman here?
I do agree with the Candyman. As he said, both these teams had very successful seasons. With all the stuff the Raiders had to deal with, still were able to climb into that playoff spot. And on the Bengals side, they have a high-powered offense. Joe Burrow is really just running this offense to the playoffs. But however, I think Derek Carr is just going to have one of those games where he clutches it out, either with a game-winning touchdown or setting up a Daryl Carlson game-winning field goal, because they both have been clutch all season long.
All right, Big Bob, what do you think here?
I do agree with both of them. With them having a 10-7 record, they're both tied right now, and I think that the Raiders are going to clutch up. Now, it's going to be a very close game, and it's still a toss-up, but I think the Raiders are just going to come in by just this low, and Derek Carr is going to have a clutch-up game.
3 picks for the Raiders. Mike Stolt disagrees with you. The Robo is rolling with the Bengals at home, and I have to agree with him here. I think it's definitely a toss-up in a way, and I think the main storyline is will Rich Bisaccia be able to rein in his team? It was such an emotional high last week. They could be in store for a letdown game after all they've been through. And even if they are able to compete, I like Joe Burrow's championship experience, because you can't discredit what he did at LSU. So, yeah, I like Burrow and the Bengals to pull through and give Cincinnati their first playoff win in 30 years. All right, so The next matchup is probably the most hyped up matchup of the playoffs. It is a divisional rivalry between the Buffalo Bills and New England Patriots. So, Brebs, take us away here. What do you think's happening?
So we saw during the season when these two teams played each other at Buffalo, very poor conditions. You had Mac Jones only throwing 3 passes.
Right.
Patriots ultimately end up winning the game in the end. However, this time around, it ain't going to be like that. Bills, they're used to the code. Their defense is top. They're ranked first in every category. Josh Allen's going to have one of those games where he's going to have digs like going on long. And I think the Bills are going to pull it out and prove to everyone that they run the AFC East.
All right. Big Bob, how about you?
I also agree with him on this one because, first of all, the Bills are 11-6, and the Patriots are 10. The Patriots are 10-7, and I think the Bills are just gonna go home on this one. But I think it would be cool to see the Patriots have a chance to play the Bucs, and I know Julian Edelman put $100,000 that the Bucs would play the Patriots, and I think that would be cool. But I think by both teams' performances that the Bills are going to win this.
All right. Robo agrees with you guys here. He's rolling with Bills Mafia here. Let's see if we got some tables broken. As for me, I'm going the other way. You guys can't discredit Bill Belichick. I mean, it's wild that people really think Buffalo has a chance here. This is Bill Belichick we're talking about. He is not losing to a team like Buffalo, a team that they've dominated for 20 years. It never changed at any point in those 2 decades, and it's not changing this weekend. Josh Allen seals the game with some big mistakes down the stretch, while Mac Jones does just enough to win. New England moves on. Candyman, what do you think here?
Well, Team Money, I thought you were going to leave me out there for a second. And if you know me well, I have close links to Buffalo. I married a Buffalo girl, went to UB. A good friend of mine is very close to Brian Dable, the OC, who's been down and up there, and he's a journeyman in the NFL. Leslie Frazier's got arguably the best defense in the league. Not one Pro Bowler on there, so they play very united. Josh Allen, Steph Diggs are 2 bona fide Pro Bowlers. I think what we're leaving out here is that Singletary really needs to have a good running game. I'm a little down on Zach Moss lately. I think I get worried as somebody married to a Bills fan. And when Josh Allen is running too much, he's a big presence. He's a great playmaker, but that's not good for his durability going forward. The Bills are clearly the better team. I think that night game, Belichick dialed up a great game plan when he only threw the ball 3 times. It was so windy you couldn't throw. I think Belichick left that game thinking like, wow, the game plan worked. I got out of there. Bills beating at Foxborough. It's very rare when 2 AFC teams, East teams, or teams from any division play each other 3 times in the season. So who will win the rubber match? Hey, let's go Buffalo. I got the Bills. It's going to be rocking. If you've ever been up there for a game, it is awesome. You got to get there. Let's go Buffalo.
Okay, so I did not expect that many Buffalo picks here. We'll see how that plays out. Heading over to Sunday's action, we started out with a battle between Tom Brady and the Bucs and the Philadelphia Eagles. We all know what happened last time Brady faced Philly in the playoffs. Big Bob, did we get another shocker here?
I don't think so. I think this is pretty one-sided. It would be cool to see the Eagles win, but I think this is probably one of the only matches for this or for the whole playoffs that is going to be one-sided, and I think the Bucs are going to win. I think Tom Brady is going to win like he always does, and between Mike Evans, I think they're going to win.
Robo agrees with you here. He just cannot see Jalen Hurts and Philly taking down the reigning champs. I actually can. I really can see an upset happening here. And I do think Tampa will pull through. You know, I was strongly considered picking the Eagles just because, you know, if you look at Tampa's roster, they're just incredibly thin. I mean, you know, we all know what happened to Antonio Brown Fournette's out. Godwin's out. I think the defense is missing a couple guys. Jalen Hurts and the number one rushing attack in Philly are rested. I really think that Tampa's vulnerable, and if they are going to lose at some point, this is where it happens. Tampa pulls through, though. Candyman, do you agree with me here? Do you agree with all
Theo,
of this?
man, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm agreeing with T Money. I had a lot of Tampa Bay Bucks on my fantasy team. Godwin went down. Evans is kind of injury reserve suspect. Fournette, I think they're trying to have come back. I think he did the walkthrough yesterday, but he hasn't played in a while. Antonio Brown was a desperation ploy. Him and Tom Brady have a great relationship. He realized he needed receivers. The receiver, his name is escaping me, who got the game-winning touchdown against the Jets. He pulled a hamstring. You got Shaq Barrett, who's not in great shape. JPP is questionable. He'll probably play. But I think they're limping into the playoffs. And if you remember last year when Tampa Bay played the football team, they barely got out of that game. They almost lost to Heineke. So I agree with you. If they lose, if they go down, it's going to happen early because they need to heal. They're walking wounded right now. So I'm picking the Eagles too. If Jalen Hurts gets enough time, enough protection from that offensive line, he's a pretty dangerous weapon. He can run that RPO. I think the Eagles can do it. So I'd like to see it. I think it's going to be tough, but I'm in agreement with you pretty much.
All right, Brebs, we've had some a lot of Eagles love here. Are you continuing the hype train?
I will not continue the hype train here. Tom Brady and the Bucs, even though he won't have Godwin, as you guys said, and Fournette, they are going to have their defensive players like Levante David, Shaq Barrett. And I think in the end, I think the Bucs are still going to pull it out. Like Tom Brady is just really good at orchestrating any type of offense, putting it together, winning games no matter what.
All right. So on that note, we're going to transfer over to the Sunday evening slot, where we have a classic rivalry game. It's the 49ers and Cowboys. It took a dramatic second-half comeback for San Francisco to even make the playoffs. So they are definitely coming in with a ton of momentum. Do they keep it going? Robo says yes. He says that Dallas continues to underachieve in the playoffs and San Francisco moves on. And I agree with him. I'm a big Giants fan, as many people know. I already gave love to one NFC East rival. I'm not giving love to a second. Dallas is going to get absolutely rolled over on Sunday. You got the two-headed monster of Debo, Samuel, and George Kittle. And San Francisco was just in a Super Bowl 2 years ago. People seem to forget that. I think San Francisco has a lot of upside for a playoff team, and they easily pull this one out. Candyman, do you think the Dak attack has a chance this year?
I didn't really watch the Niners-Cowboys game. Everybody's high on the Niners, and Dallas really has not done much in the playoffs since the last time these two teams met in the playoffs in the 1994 NFC Championship game. And I grew up in that generation, and the NFC was a dominant conference, so sometimes we call it the real Super Bowl. I just think everybody's riding the Niners too high right now. I think it's finally Dallas's time. I mean, that's some good Tony Romo teams with talent, him and Des Bryant, but they never really made it far, never made it to a Super Bowl. I think Dak, mix in Zeke, mix in CeeDee Lamb, hopefully Amari Cooper gets going. I think Dallas is too talented enough to let this slip away. And, I think they win. I think they hold off this Niners team who's really hot. And I do remember that the Niners were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And last year, to me, they were the most disappointed team because they were decimated by injuries. If Dallas wants to win, though, they got to contain Debo Samuel, man, because he's the man, and they can't let him do anything, especially throw a touchdown. So I'm going to ride with Dallas.
Yeah, Debo's certainly been doing it all for this team this year.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Brebs. So we know you're a Texans fan, and this is a team from that same state. Are you supporting your state?
As much as I would like to go against the Cowboys, I am picking them. There's too much talent on that roster to not at least make the second round of the playoffs. That defensive line for the Cowboys is stacked with DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, a star in the making. Dallas, and I think Dallas is going to cruise to a victory as well.
Okay, and now the pick that Big Bob has been waiting for all night. He is a huge Cowboys fan. Let's see what he can tell us about this team.
I know this is going to be a biased opinion because I'm a Cowboys. I think the Cowboys have a chance, and I think they're going to go all the way this year. They have Dak, they have Zeke, they have Amari Cooper. We have a chance, and I would love to see them come out as a win. And the 49ers just made it to playoffs as being 10-7, and we were 12-5. I think the Cowboys are going to win.
We apologize for anyone who had to listen to that awful take. But on that note, we are going to head over to the Sunday night game, which features the Pittsburgh Steelers and Kansas City Chiefs. Man, so much intrigue in this one. So many burning questions, so much hype around this game. Who's Brittany Matthews going to get mad at this time? How many TikToks will Jackson Mahomes make? Can Big Ben throw a ball more than 10 yards downfield? I don't know the answer to any of these questions, but I do know that Kansas City is going to dominate this matchup. I mean, this is probably one of the worst playoff games we've had in years. I'm just going to say it like that. I mean, there's just such little talent on this, or so much talent, but just so much is wrong with this Pittsburgh team rather, and most of it starts at QB, obviously. Candyman, do you agree with me here?
Well, let me say this about the Steelers. They're like Cobra Kai. They're black and yellow, and they never die. Ben won't go away. Mike Tomlin's a great coach. Great win last week. Mrs. Folger's a great Steelers fan. I'm like, what do you expect to happen? She's like, I expect a very bad defeat. Yes, Ben's come out saying, hey, let's just have fun. I don't know if him and Najee Harris can, make something happen. I don't see them winning. I do want to say this about Kansas City moving forward. They will win this game, but they're not a powerhouse Kansas City team that I'm used to. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not in 100%. Tyreek Hill has missed a lot of games. Travis Kelce left the game late hurt. So I think they survived this game. Whether they make a Super Bowl run, I don't know if it's going to happen this year. Obviously, I have the Chiefs. And, congrats to Ben. Hopefully he has fun in this game, but this is probably the swan song for him.
All right. Up next, it's we have Brebs, who's actually been to a Steelers game this year and is rocking the Claypool jersey right now. Do you see an upset coming here?
As much as I would love that, as you said, rocking the Claypool, going to Kansas City Chiefs. We saw in the regular season, the Chiefs kind of struggled a little bit, but they got on pace again, and you can never, ever count out Patrick Mahomes. The past 2 years, leading them to the Super Bowl, high-powered offense. Remember, you still got Andy Reid as a head coach, too. He's a very good coach. And Mike Tomlin will have this team ready. He will have them play hard, but it's going to be a blowout, and the Chiefs are going to roll to the second round. I still think Chiefs are going to hang around. Chiefs are going to hang around and still make a playoff run, I think.
All right, so overwhelming consensus here. Big Bob, do you agree?
I think it would be really interesting to see the Steelers win, but since it's most likely probably going to be Big Ben's last game, I don't think that they have a chance. He's getting older. Their team isn't the Steelers as they used to be like 5 years ago. I think the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill, possible Kelce, and then Mahomes. He's still young, and I think it's the battle of the young and the old with Big Ben on his way out, and Mahomes is starting to get where Big Ben was now, or where he used to be. I think this is pretty obvious. It's going to be the Chiefs.
And for the record, Robo does agree with everyone here. So unanimously, we have picked the Kansas City Chiefs. Now the first round closes out with some history. We've got the first ever Monday night playoff showdown, and it's headed out west where we have the Rams taking on the Cardinals. These are two teams that are just going in completely different directions right now. The Rams have won 5 out of their last 7. Meanwhile, Arizona dropped 4 out of 5 to close it out. So let's get into this one. Brebs, kick us off. Can Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona right the ship?
Oof. throughout the season, the Cardinals looked like Super Bowl contenders, but they just kept injuries really plagued them, and I just don't think they have the right pieces to go on a Super Bowl run. And on the other side for the Rams, Matt Stafford is going to prove to everyone why he was traded from the Lions to the Rams for Jared Goff. And I think with Cam Akers coming back, their run game is going to be better. Their defense, you always got Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, two of the best at their positions. And I think the Rams are going to win this game.
All right, Big Bob, you think you agree here?
I definitely would say so. I think Matthew Stafford wants to prove his point, and I think Odell's on the team. I think it's I still think it could be a throw game where either team could win, but I think specifically that the Rams are going to win on this one.
Robo is actually going to disagree with both of you guys. He is Arizona walking into LA, coming out with the victory. And I mean, I certainly see the logic in that. There's so much talent there. It's actually rumored that J.J. Watt might be coming back. You know, I see Arizona has all the pieces they need. It just hasn't clicked. And I think that it will continue to fall apart, and it'll leave some big questions for Arizona in the offseason. Matt Stafford overpowers Arizona, leads them to the win. Candyman, finish it off here. What do you think?
You know, it's a very interesting matchup. I think both teams are limping in, one mentally, one physically. Arizona had a great start to the year. I mean, I had Kyler Murray and DeAndre on fantasy. They were gold, man. I mean, they were getting me wins early in the year. DeAndre missed a lot of games. Kyler Murray hasn't really been the same since the ankle injury. He did have one kind of Kyler Murray-esque game where he threw for a couple touchdowns and rushed one in. But, they're running back by committee. James Conner got a lot of snaps this year because their lead back was out for a lot of the season. The J.J. Watt thing, I can see happening because 2 years ago when he was a Texan, he was kind of hurt all year, and they played the Bills, and the Bills were winning. I think it was a wild card round. Josh Allen and the Bills are playing well. All of a sudden they came back, and J.J. Watt was putting pressure on Josh Allen, the Bills, and they got a win. So if he's fresh and he's old school J.J. Watt, that could make a difference, but I don't think it will. I just think the Rams are too talented. CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Kupp, their defense. They have Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. They added Von Miller. My worry about the Rams is Stafford. Last year, when we did this show at the end, we said the team to look out for. I said it was the Rams because right after the Goff for Stafford trade happened, and he's a great quarterback. He's a warrior. He plays through injury. And that's the problem. I think he's been playing through injury for a greater part of the second half of the season. He's not himself when I watch him play. I still think the Rams win. I think they just have too much talent. But I'm worried about them moving forward after the wild card round. But I'm going to pick the Rams.
Well, that will do it for our coverage of the wild card round. We'll be back next week, our first report card, and we'll pick the divisional round. For this special overtime playoff special, I'm Team Money. Let the games begin.